you ever wondered what it's like to experience the magic that happens when the characters in your head become real to other people? I have. I'm Maddie Margarita, and this is Character Floss, a deep dive into the psyche of compelling characters and the authors who create them. Today, we are welcoming back my friend, don't make a face, Matt, and one of my favorite authors, Matt Coyle. Matt is the best-selling author of the Rick Cahill PI crime series. His novels have won the Anthony Award, the Shamus Award, the Lefty Award, the San Diego Book Award, among others, and have been nominated for numerous Anthony, McCavity, Shamus, and Lefty Awards. Matt has gone on to publish 8 Rick Cahill novels, including his latest, Last Redemption, the 8th in the series, in the award-winning series. Matt is a graduate of UC Santa Barbara and lives in San Diego with his yellow lab, Angus. Hi, Matt.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Let's make this look like we've never talked before.
That's the way I feel all the time.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You've written book 8 in the series, Last Redemption. So my first question is, how do you go about writing book after book that just keep getting better, where every review I read says this is better than his last? So start off with an easy question.
Well, thank you. I just try to write the books that I want to read. Yeah, clearly it is a series, so generally there's some sort of, or often there's something left over from the last book or Rick is dealing with internally, sometimes physically. And so that's kind of a starting off point for me, or jumping off point for me. The way I start every book from far back as I remember is with Rick's major subplot, what is going on in his life that is giving him difficulty and would be exacerbated by taking a case. And that's the easy part, the subplots for me, for the major Rick thing. And then I try to find a story, maybe sometimes they overlap with what's going on in his life, but regardless, it always makes his life more difficult. I revise a lot. So it takes me 9 months to probably write a book. And I write my first draft is like an outline, because I don't outline. So I just throw in everything and then I cut and revise. So I revise a fair amount. I probably revise the book 4 times or more before I turn it in. So hopefully that cooks things down into a good story. Angus came by to say hello.
Oh, hi, Angus. It took you 10 years to write your first novel. Now you're down to writing them in what? How long does it take you to write a novel now?
Well, I'd say about 9 months to get it where it needs to be. I mean, you have a little bit less than a year with each contract. Yeah, it's about 9 months. It took me 10 years, it's because I was getting rejected. Well, it took me 5 years probably to write a book, and then 3 to 5 years of rejections, and then finally a yes, and then more revision. 2 yeses, actually. You got to get a yes from the agent, and then a yes from the publisher. But I wish I could do them quicker. I know someone I'm doing an interview with Wednesday night, Megan Beaumont, who writes 1,000 books every year, and it's kind of obnoxious, but
I'm sorry, did you say 1,000 books every year?
She's written 11 books in a year before, but I think she averages like 5 or something. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So you're writing, you've got Rick, you're writing book, each book is better than the last. When you finish don't give me that. We all know that's true. So when you finish the book, are you thinking about the next book and saying, okay, I'm going to have to finish this in a way where I have to write another book? Or do you finish that book and say, okay, this is the end of that story, and then you start totally from ground zero on your next book?
And I would say that there's generally some carryover. The last book, well, the book before the last, Lost Tomorrows, I had Rick lose his eyesight, and so I was definitely, I wasn't really thinking when I ended it, because I thought that was a great ending, that was great. And then I had to write the next book, and I thought, well, that wasn't so great, that wasn't a great idea.
And the
But
next book was Blind Vigil, right?
Blind Vigil, yeah, which was the
Right.
last book. But that did, I mean, clearly I had somewhere I had a jumping off point clearly there. And I'm trying to think of the end of Blind Vigil. Can't. I have an inkling. I like the book. I just turned in number 9, and I have an inkling for 10 where I want to go with it, but kind of a hazy idea. But I'm not completely, I am a blank pager, but I'm not completely blank on the next book. But I do like to not think too much about it because I've been in the book for 9-10 months, and just when you turn the thing in and you're ready to kind of decompress, a few weeks later you get notes back to revise. And I thought, well, I can't even start the new book yet or whatever.
Well, in Blind Vigil, we see Rick suffering from a pretty severe physical disability. And you think, oh my God, how could things get worse for a detective than to be a blind detective? But somehow you managed to make things worse for him.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the storyline and how you did that?
Sure. Yeah. As the book as Last Redemption opens, Rick is seemingly in one of the best parts of his life, one of the best times of his life. His girlfriend is pregnant, and she's had in her marriage, she's divorced. She had a couple of miscarriages. She's 41 now. Rick's 42. She thought she'd never be able to have a child. Rick is, as those who follow along know, his wife was murdered before the first book, Yesterday's Echo, and he hasn't had many successful relationships since then. He thought he'd never be a father, and they're going to have this miracle child. And so there's that happiness that lasted about a week for him when he found out that he has been diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is the CTE, the football disease. That's people who are sports fans probably know about. It's brain disease that is generally dementia, loss of cognition, dementia, and then early death. So that's what he's staring in the face. He's been diagnosed that you can't really get a conclusive diagnosis until after the person has died when you open up the brain. That's true. That was true when I was researching the book. As far as I know, it's still true. But he's been diagnosed with it, and it makes sense. I had one of the rules I had when I first started writing. I didn't know anything about writing a book or series, but I did want to have everything that happened physically and mentally to Rick to have repercussions. He couldn't escape his past. And I didn't think when I started writing him 20 years ago that, hey, let's give him a debilitating disease that'll shorten his lifespan. But as things progressed, as this disease became known, I thought, well, he probably does have it because he boxed Golden Gloves as a kid for, I think, 3 years. He played football, Pop Warner, high school, a couple of years of college, maybe. So that's like 10 years of football. And he's had numerous concussions as a private investigator, as a cop. Didn't really delve in his time as a cop, but I'm sure it was a little physical. So it kind of makes sense that he's got this disease that a lot of people probably have and don't know it. And I really didn't see any other way for his life to be true to what's going on in his life, his fictional life, but to have this horrible disease. And he does. And in the book, in a concession to a successful relationship, and now to be a father, he has scaled back his private investigative business to just doing background checks for major corporations in the Southern California area. And actually, it's worked out well for him. He's gotten some good, because of people he knows, he's gotten some good job offers. So it's really, financially, he's in better shape than he'd been doing the other things. But he kind of misses being in the middle of the action. He misses helping people that really need help and have no place else to go, and confronting evil head on. But he's made concessions because that's what you're supposed to do. I've been told. I did research on when you're in a successful relationship, what you're supposed to do, but I had to do reading on that.
You did a lot of reading on that?
Yeah, it was kind of boring, but yeah, I had to read up. And so in the story, Moira, his sometime partner, she's a private investigator, has asked Rick to surveil her son. She's a widow. She's got an only son. He's 24, and he has been, his girlfriend got a restraining order out on him, a temporary restraining order. And Moira's afraid he's broken it and he's perhaps stalking her. So Rick, is an opportunity to get out of it. He works at home. He works upstairs in his office, talking to people on the phone, something he doesn't really like doing, but he's doing because he wants to do the right thing. He figures I'll get out of the house for a couple nights. And of course, someone ends up dead and things turn.
As often they do when you're writing,
Yes.
when you are writing a book.
Right.
Right. So, in your earlier books, Rick was felt very much like a lone wolf. But that doesn't seem to be the case now. He has relationships. And so I'm wondering what had to change for Rick in order for that to happen? And how did you change the way you wrote him?
I think what had changed for Rick is that his invisible hand master had to get smart and get lucky.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
I mentioned I had a rule that every physical and emotional scar carried over for Rick. It had repercussions. That was a rule I really thought about. The other rule I had too was that Rick was going to be a lone wolf. This is it. He's not going to have any partners. No Superman sidekick that can physically, extricate him from danger. No wealthy buddy who can fly him around the country that he has to go for on cases or help him financially when he gets in, legal situations. And no comedic friend to lighten the mood. It's Rick. He's stuck to his own devices, and that's it. And
a dog.
Does have a dog. There is a
part-time dog. Yeah.
That's me. He's got a full-time dog. I have a part-time dog.
Yeah.
There's a little humanity there, but that was going to be it. And I honestly, if I would have continued that way, I don't really think I would have written 8 books or 8 books that people wanted to read. I don't think I would have been published more than 2 or 3, because I think Rick would have been too dour and even for me, too dark. So what happened, I broke this rule, no sidekicks, by accident in the second book, Night Tremors. I need another private investigator for Rick to bump up against. It's going to be one scene. That was it. So Moira came out of nowhere, 5 foot even gal with a big attitude, and Rick had done something unknowingly, had taken a case away from her. He had no idea. She knocks on his door, stares up at him, and just reams him out. And once she started talking, not only did Rick listen, so did I. I thought, well, she's kind of like her. So that was gonna be the one scene, but there were opportunities for her to be further in that book. A couple different scenes where it made sense. It wasn't just shoving her in. So I thought, well, she's going to go from a one scene, forgettable character to multiple cameos in one book, and then she'd be a memorable character in the past. And in the third book, Dark Fissures, I needed someone to help Rick get some information. Rick can't. The police hate Rick. He's because of his. He's thought to be a guy who murdered his wife, and his father was supposed to be a bad cop. So the police aren't going to help him. And private eyes need help getting information they can't get from police sometimes. So Rick calls Moira in this. He talked to her twice on the phone in Dark Fissures for information. I realized, well, she's a part of his life now. He needs her help. So she's going to be like this peripheral character in the books. And maybe that'll show that Rick, there is some humanity to Rick and reason to care about him because there's this other character. Then I'm almost done. Then I wrote Blood Truth, and I needed her once again for one scene. And again, she started talking, and the two of them, and I realized, man, she needs to be in this book. She's in the series. She's important to the series. She rounds out, she softens Rick a little bit, shows the reader that this dour character, although he's not so dour now, because there's a little back and forth between the two of them, some humor, some familial love, certainly, and also the head knocking of brother-sister relationship. So it does round him out and humanize him. And she's got her shit together. I can say that, can I?
Yeah.
she's got her shit together, and the reader clearly knows this is a person of substance, and if she cares about Rick and really cares about him, then he's worth sticking with when he makes these bad decisions. And I don't think if I ever would have discovered Moira, or she discovered me or Rick, that the series would have gone more than 3 books probably, because no one went on to read them.
Well, it's interesting that she was able to break through his shell, and so was Leah. So what was it about them that you think made Rick, made you make the reader stand up and listen to them and let them in? That maybe somebody else might, or some other kind of character might not have had that kind of success.
Yeah. Leah and Rick's relationship, once again, Leah was going to be a character for one book, sister of Rick's training. She was in Lost Tomorrow's, sister of Rick's training partner when he was a rookie, a boot in Santa Barbara Police Department. And she's killed all these years later in a hit and run accident. Rick goes up for the funeral, and Leah, her sister, younger sister, asks, she knows Rick's a private eye now, and she asks him to investigate because she doesn't think the cops are on the right track. And so that's what I needed her for in that book. And they were going to be some scenes together, and there was a relationship, and it was a stressful relationship in real life. So they're both kind of facing the same issues, and that brought them together. And they ended up, I think that kind of, when you're in a relationship, it can be, when you're in a relationship, like when you're in a situation like that, it can really knock down some doors that take a while to get through. So they fast tracked the relationship, and then they were in a relationship, and it's legitimate. He loves her. He's making sacrifices for the relationship, something he probably hadn't done in the past, certainly not in his marriage. So it made sense. Once again, didn't plan it. I didn't want, not only did Rick as a lone wolf PI, I wanted Rick as a lone wolf person, and not because he could do the smarmy PI stuff where he's a different woman in every book and he's, betting them all. Just that I wanted this solitary character that had to, he had no place else to go, but now he does, and he's better. He's better for it. It's more realistic and more palatable.
I know that you never shy away from a challenge. Anybody who writes themselves with a blind detective more than towards the end of the series, maybe midway in the series, who knows how many books there'll be, doesn't shy away from a challenge. But was it a challenge for you to start writing these relationships? And it's nice to write a lone wolf where you don't have to, if you're lead child and you're writing Jack Reacher, and you don't have all the depth and interaction and dynamics. Was that a challenge for you, or did seemingly come natural in the world that you created?
Well, I'm divorced. So yeah, it was hard. I don't know how to write it. I don't know how to live. I'm working on it right now, but I haven't had great success in male-female relationships. So yeah, it was a challenge, but it was a challenge to step outside the Rick world to do it too. So yeah, that's it's funny. The Moira Rick scenes are the easiest ones for me to write because I've got 3 sisters, and I have had a brother who just passed away. So I know the family thing. There were 5 of us, middle-class family, and all fighting for spots on the couch in front of the TV. So I know brother-sister relationships and the antagonism that goes with all brother-sister relationships. So I can fall right into that when I'm writing Rick and Moira. But for Rick and Leah, more difficult. Got to make them. There has to be tension too. Who cares? You want to read about a loving relationship. That doesn't. I mean, they're in one, but where everything's going well, that's not crime fiction. So when it's too difficult for me, I send Leah to Santa Barbara.
There you go. There you go. Just like in, too bad you can't do that in real life. That would be.
No.
Yeah.
I tried, and she tried. I'll say my ex tried. But.
Yeah. Well, so it's so interesting that you accepted this challenge and that you are following the path and not taking the controlled, easy, comfortable route for you. And I think that's one of the things that makes your books feel so fresh and risky. I think you never know what's going to happen next, because I think when in your head, you're taking risks. So the reader is taking those risks right along with you. So it adds to even the subplots and the plot. The writing itself is great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's true. I don't take much risk in life. I tend to go with the flow, didn't have a grand scheme, and in terms of careers before writing, it was pretty obvious I didn't have a scheme or grand plan. Just kind of went from job to job. I didn't really become a careerist, and I'm pretty lazy overall. But for some reason, when I write, I do take I do try to make it as much of a challenge as possible. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's because I finally figured out why I was put on earth, what I was supposed to do, and that's to write books. But yeah, I do not take the easy way out. I mean, Rick was blind, and now he has CTE. So
And
no,
he loves
accept the
Leah,
challenge.
and not only does he have that, he has a potential offspring in the future. So I mean, in terms of like overcoming difficult, seemingly insurmountable options, and raising the emotional stakes to the point of, oh my God, what is going to happen? I have to keep turning the page. If that's the kind of book that people are looking for, they should buy your books. Because it was interesting in the beginning, like your first book, there was something about Rick that you really loved, even though he didn't have, I think, some people wanted to fix him. Other people love train wrecks, whatever reason you connected with him. But now when you read your books, the emotional story arc, the subplots take, center stage so well. Almost, you're reading, it's the story is pulling you through, but the emotional subplots are pulling you through too. So everything is driving you to the last page. So that kind of suspense is hard to write. Is that coming naturally to you? Are you pacing out the plot and the subplot, or?
Well, thanks for the kind words, and I think you kind of get it. You get what I'm trying to do. That's always good when readers understand what you're trying to do, and especially someone that I like and respect, who's in the world and knows the genre. Yeah, I never really thought I was writing thrillers, even though I think on the back of every book it says thriller, but they're not thrillers. I think of all crime fiction as character. The best are done through character, not plot driven. I mean, they're all plot driven to some extent, but I think the character arcs are the most interesting things, and that's what I've always gravitated to. The books I choose to read. But I didn't really have a plan for the books to be so emotional, because they are. That's kind of the way Rick has grown. I think the character's grown, and he's getting older. He's 42 in this book, I think.
A year or two younger than you are now.
Just a couple years, yeah.
Yeah.
He started out, when I first started writing, he was 10 years younger than me, and it took 10 years to get published. So it makes him 20 years younger than me, which gives him a longer lifespan, although now I have CTE. But so that was kind of a happy accident to not get published early, because he'd be in his 50s now and less physical probably. And plus, I think all those years to get published makes you a better writer, no question. I'm happy now to have been rejected so often for so long. Seriously, I think
Appreciate it more.
Yeah, and it makes you're putting the more hours in. It takes you that, you become a better writer, all the hours you're putting in. But yeah, it's, I write Rick the way he needs to be written. But there are some people that don't, because I read my reviews, even the Goodreads ones, and God bless everybody who puts a review down, good or bad, they're invested. But some people don't really, they think he's too, we're too internal with Rick, and I understand that, because they may be thinking more of the classical private eye with the non sequiturs and the quips, which he has to a degree, but you're also inside his head, and this guy's got a life, and he's battling a lot of demons, and he's battling a short life.
Maybe the ultimate challenge.
Yeah. And I think what happened to me over the past the past year, some family things, makes me think more about life's conclusion, things like that. So I think that bled into the book, even though I lost some family members near the end of writing it. I think that, in revision, it bled in more and more. So yeah, it's real life. It's fiction, but it's real life, and Rick's he's gonna think about these things.
So again, I'm so curious, personally curious about this, because a lot of thrillers and mysteries are formulaic in their suspense. Okay, now it's time for this, and when you read it, you can almost tell if you read enough of them what's going to happen next. But your books are not like that. And maybe because you didn't know I don't know if you knew what was going to happen next. I don't know. Like I said, it's very risky reading your books, and you're always on edge. But how do you time the forward progression in the story and the subplots so that they work together? Because the emotional changes and the emotional pivot points don't happen at the same time as the plot pivot points do. There's a way to do that, and that you seem to have mastered. Do you think about that when you are trying to decide what happens in what chapter and what should happen when, and how you time the plot and the subplots? Or
no, I probably should. No, I probably will. I probably won't be able to write anymore.
Yeah, no, thanks. I've emotionally crippled you. Thank you.
I do think about plot points, which generally after I've written the book, the first draft, and you've read mystery, I'm sure, for almost all your life, and when you're writing a story, they kind of through osmosis sort of show up where you expect them to some degree. But really all I think about is change and tension, and those are the things I concentrate most on. And the plot points kind of fill in, and they're not always in the right spot. I think it's kind of what you're getting at. But I don't like I probably if I wrote formulaic, maybe I'd make some more money and have more readers, but I just do it the way I do it. But I do think a little bit about now the emotional things. It just kind of goes where it goes. And I did, after one of my books, or after maybe it was a draft, I actually had a whiteboard and I put up a bunch of stickies. They had different colors. There were 3 colors. I think one was plot, one was emotional subplot, and the other one was action or something. And I looked at it and saw that, wow, there's a lot of pink right here, whatever color it was, which was maybe emotion or something. And moved some things around. But I think what I do now is that when I write that first draft, I just throw everything in there. And then when I revise, I take big chunks out. And because when putting the things in, it opens things up for me when there'll be scenes where I know that aren't going to make the final draft, but I know I really can't get to where I want to go until I write them. So, and I think with all of that, and some of that's more emotion than in the book. So maybe when pulling all that out, it kind of, miraculously, they end up in the right place. But I just very open on the first draft, and no, you're writing crap. It's okay. You have to wade through this to get where you're going. Now, more efficient writers don't need to do that, but that's what I do. It's worked for me. Of late, in the last 3 books, I've questioned my writing process for some reason. I don't know why. Because it has been, on a small scale, it's been fairly successful. But and it's just it has stalled me from really getting in the book. And so then I think, well, you've got your subplot, you know what you want to do here, and you know what the ending is, you kind of know what the major plot is, the through line. Just put Rick in a scene with some tension, and he'll find the way. And that's what I always end up doing. And now I'm telling myself, when I start the next one, I'm not going to do that delay anymore. I'm just going to throw them in, swim. You'll get there eventually, and then you'll cut what doesn't work.
Let us know. We'll talk to you and see how that works. But you have put Rick in tough situations, and like this one right now, this chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I tried that.
Very hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. The brain injury, concussion injury. What is it about that in this situation? I mean, you pulled the rug out from under us once with the blind vigil at the end of the last book, and starting blind vigil with him impaired. And now he's like life seemingly, you almost hear the birds chirping in the beginning, and then you pull the rug out from us underneath us again. Why chronic, CTE by that? And why are the stakes so high? I mean, his child, they're not only high for him, the stakes in this book are high for the people in the book that he cares about. They're high for Leah, they're high for Moira. Why this situation, and is it exhausting for you to write these? Because everybody has a character arc in this book. It's not like, okay, there are secondary characters and they show up when you need them to do what you want them to do, and that's it. Now we're invested in everybody in here. So how does that happen? How do you make that happen?
Well, I think I gave the reason why. I mean, clearly Rick doesn't have to have CTE,
right?
But true to that one of those two rules when I started, I already broke one, but it made the series better. So happy I did. So happy it happened. I don't really think it was me intervening. It was just, it happened. But the other one I always stuck to, and it always goes back, and that's everything has repercussions.
Right.
And I always go back to Jack Nicholson in Chinatown when the director, what's his name? Roman Polanski, he's the actor in this movie, cuts his nose, slashes his nose. And we see Jack throughout the movie, either with a big honking bandage on, this is your lead, or when he takes it off, a very ugly, a healing scar with stitches. And that's the way I saw Rick's life. The scars are there. Maybe you don't see them all the time, but they're there. And honestly, I can't really remember why I decided, yes, he has to do it. But I think it's just that he has to have it. This is the life that he's led. He's led a violent life. Some of it was directed through sports when he was younger, but there was violence. And violence has repercussions, and certainly does for him. And
is it the same for Leah and Moira?
Well, skipping to them.
Is that rule the same for them, or are they exempt?
It is for everybody in this kind of messed up world I write about. And Moira's is, you see it in this book where she is a widow. I think her husband died 9 years before this book, before she met Rick. And she's got an only son, and Rick has always thought that, she's got, as I said earlier, she got her shit together. Raising a kid, she got it down, she got everything down. We see in this book that she didn't have it down perfectly, and that there's a separation between her and her son, a gap that she could not close. And you see her as more vulnerable than you've ever seen her. And I didn't really think about in the beginning. I just needed a story, and I wanted it to be Moira and her son, because this book is somewhat about family or potential family, and the sacrifices people make to try to keep their family together or even have one. And so then, well, if it's going to be about family, then it's got to be someone Rick cares about who's in this situation. So it had to be Moira. And with Leah, she's been a good partner to Rick, and kind of, understanding his really manic need to kind of be the hero in some sense, or to always find the truth. And, he can't do that anymore. And that affects her now. It's everything that Rick has always had. He's had to worry about feeding midnight. That's it. Other people in his life, if he does something that's going to hurt him, it hurt him. But now it hurts his wife and potential child. And so it's a new spin for him. And the other thing is that with he and Moira, I don't even remember the question you asked, because I'm old and senile, but I'm going to answer the way I'm going to answer.
Keep going. This is working.
The thing about Moira is that she's been the brake, he's been the gas. he's been the wild hare and she's been the, settle down. And in this one, I'm not gonna say she's the wild hare, but she doesn't have control of herself completely. She doesn't have control of her emotions. And even with regard to Rick. And so he's got to be the one to step back and say, well, let's kind of calm down. Let's figure this out. Or at least try. He tries. And so it's a little bit of a role reversal and something that he needs for his potential of being a parent.
So we see him maturing as we go through that. Okay. So what is it that you hope that people feel when they read the last page of Last Redemption?
I will take the easy one because there can be a lot of answers to that, but might potentially be some sort of spoiler. I don't know. I would say they were entertained and they have a better feel for Rick and maybe better understand why he does the things he does.
Okay. All right. So you said you just turned in book 9 or
Yeah. 9.
So what does that mean for you now? What are you doing now? Aside from promoting Last Redemption, and are you writing? Are you taking a break? Are you thinking?
Well, I'm editing the book I just turned in. That's due on the 23rd of December. I tend to get it done early. I'm actually judging something, so I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm trying to catch up on a lot of reading. And that is the major stress point in my life right now, to finish this reading that I have to do for something.
Are you allowed to say what you're judging?
No, but you can figure it out.
I know what you're judging.
Yeah.
I can figure that out.
You're not allowed to say it. Doesn't make, never understood why you're not allowed to say it, because people that submit know exactly who's doing it. They know who the judges are, so I don't get it. But yeah, so a lot of reading and
promote it. Well, I'm sure that promoting the book takes a lot of your time. Do you have anything coming up? Do you have?
Yeah. Well, I don't know when this is going to air, but so it probably will be past when this airs. But I do have in first week of January, I'm talking to the California Writers Club, which was started by Jack London, and there's various different cities with it, and this one's in Orange County. And I'm going to be speaking from a mezzanine down at the people. So that's going to be quite interesting. I'll be shouting down.
I like the dynamics. I like the power dynamic of that.
Yeah, I'll be shouting down at people, and God knows what will happen there. And I'm doing Mysterious Galaxy on January 26th. I have a couple things that are happening I'm doing a couple Zoom events in the next 2 nights, but I'm not sure this will air, so probably past that. But I've been doing. I've had 3 in-person events so far, and that's probably going to be it until the end of the year. And that's been fun. It's been great to get back in front of people. And they've gone the whole full cycle. Warwick's in La Jolla in San Diego, my hometown, was the best event I probably ever had. And
I saw it was packed.
It was packed. It was great. It was, people were happy to be out. And I just did another place I love. They were great. And I had 2 friends show up. So that was it. So you get the highs and the lows.
Yeah, just like everybody. See, everybody can relate to that, Matt.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to be here today. It's always fun and entertaining and really interesting to talk to you and hear how things are going for you. I'm totally invested in Rick Cahill and what happens to him and what happens to you, and hope things go the way that you want them to go.
Well, thank you. I always appreciate being here, and you always make me think, which is not the best thing, but I do it anyway.
I come with bearing Tylenol. I'm the headache giver. I give headaches. I don't get them. That's my newest T-shirt.
You're still married, so good luck.
All right. Well, thank you, and good luck, everybody. Thank you for joining us. For more information about Matt and his books, you can turn to mattcoylebooks.com. Is that correct, Matt?
That's right.
Okay. All right. There you go. And for more interesting conversations like these, you can please hit that notification bell, like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you again. I am Maddie Margarita, and this is Character Floss.